Ever since we saw our first pictures of Dry Tortugas National Park, we knew that it was a place that we needed to visit. The biggest challenge is that it is in the middle of the ocean and there are only 3 ways to get there. You can either take the ferry like we did, a private boat or charter, or you can take the fancy option, which is the seaplane. We would love to do this option eventually, but at the time of the recording of this video, it was about $644 a person to do this. Our morning started off a little bit before the crack of dawn because the ferry boards at 7:30 and our hotel was about an hour away from it. This is such a beautiful drive and it was really a shame that we had to do it in the dark. But luckily, as you'll see in a little bit, the experience was totally worth it. After getting parked, our somewhat sleepy group made its way over to the ferry terminal. If you want more information about methods of getting to Dry Tortuga or what to do once you get there, be sure to click on the link to our blog in the description because we have tons of information there. After a short orientation, it was time to board the ferry and begin the adventure. Please note that this is not the boat that you'll usually be taking to Dry Tortugas. The Yankee Freedom was in the shop, so this one was standing in as a substitute. Once on board, we grabbed our breakfast bag and headed upstairs for a better view. At the time of the recording of this video, tickets for the ferry cost $200 a person. Along with the boat ride, you will also be getting park entrance, breakfast, lunch, snorkel gear, and if you want, a 45-minute walking tour of the fort. And here's an added little pro tip for you. If you have the America the Beautiful Pass, you can get $15 off for up to 4 people. As soon as we got out of the harbor, the captain opened up the throttle and we set off on our 2-hour and 15-minute ride to Dry Tortugas. The ride to the island was beautiful, but also quite uneventful, so we will be doing the condensed version of the ride for the sake of this video. After quite a while out on the open sea, we could see Fort Jefferson starting to appear on the horizon. One thing that we would love to do at some point is camp here. The ferry only has room for 10 campers each day, and you do need to reserve your spot quite a ways in advance, but that is definitely something on our to-do list. As I said before, if that sounds like something that interests you, you can find out more information on our website. There are no lockers on either the boat or the island, so you need to be prepared to either carry everything that you brought with you or find a place to set it down. It does not appear that theft is a problem that they have at the park, but I wouldn't leave anything expensive laying around anyways. We ended up skipping the walking tour and decided to explore Fort Jefferson by ourselves. This impressive structure was in use between 1846 and 1875. Counting the roof, the fort has 3 levels, and you can tell that whoever built it really liked arches because there are 2,000 of them here. As beautiful as this place is, its history was not all rainbows and sunshine. A lot of the building of the fort was done by prisoners and slaves who had to endure hot sun and minimal rations. Yellow fever and scurvy also ran rampant on the island. And on top of all of that, boredom and loneliness was a problem not only for the slaves and prisoners, but for the soldiers here as well. The people here unfortunately did not have the option to hop on a fast boat and be back in Florida in a couple of hours. But what they did have was some serious firepower. One of the things that they did a great job on when designing Fort Jefferson is making it nearly impossible to take over. This fort is heavily armed in 360 degrees. Not only do you have the massive cannons up on the roof, but you can also shoot out of the arches and the embrasures on the lower levels as well. There were a total of 420 heavy guns housed here at one time, including 15-inch Rodman smoothbores. These massive guns could fire 432-pound projectiles over 3 miles, so even getting close to this island was not an option. The lighthouse was under repair when we visited, so unfortunately we weren't able to explore that, but we were still treated to so many amazing views that look straight out of a postcard. The National Park Service really has done a fantastic job of preserving this place because it feels like time has stood still since the last soldier left. I realize that there is a gift shop now, but other than that, I can totally picture a pirate ship sailing over the horizon, getting one look at the cannons, and then hightailing it out of there. If you fancy yourself a bit of a bird watcher, you better bring your binoculars, because Dry Tortuga is home to such species as these magnificent frigate birds, as well as sooty terns, masked and brown boobies, rosea terns, and the double-crested cormorant. After watching them fly around for a while with their big red throat pouches, we headed to the far end of the island to continue our tour. The hallways here seem nice and spacious, but I'm sure it was quite a different story when they were filled with cannons and soldiers. One other thing that this fort was used for was a prison to house criminals and deserters during the Civil War. And it was even home at one time to Dr. Samuel Mudd, who was imprisoned here for his involvement in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. But one of the craziest things that we saw on our visit has to be the cannonball oven. Because what would suck more than getting hit by a cannonball? How about a red hot one that's also gonna light your boat on fire? We had definitely never seen anything like that before. Taking the tour of the fort had eaten up quite a bit of our time on the island, so we wanted to head down and get some snorkeling in. Our first stop was going to be the North Beach. One of the great things about snorkeling here is that not only is it beautiful, but it's also very beginner friendly as well. There is plenty of shallow water here for people who aren't the strongest of swimmers, and if your swimming skills are up to par, there is a lot to explore. Dry Tortugas National Park is home to a wide variety of aquatic wildlife. But one thing that we definitely need to keep in mind is to look but not touch. This park is home to the third largest coral reef in the entire world. The only problem is the oil in our skin can be deadly to the coral, so we need to do our part to keep it healthy for generations. And also, you may see some red coral here. That's called fire coral, and it will burn the heck out of you if you touch it. So you'll probably want to skip on doing that. Not only did we end up seeing a lot of cool fish, but we spotted this beautiful queen conch shell as well. This spot easily made it onto our favorite places that we've ever been snorkeling list. My only wish is that we could have had a little bit more time to explore the area. After swimming around a bit more, we checked the time and unfortunately realized that we only had about 40 minutes left on the island. Even though the snorkeling spot that we had was pretty amazing, we wanted to see what was on the other side of the island. So we packed up and made our way over. The other benefit of this spot is that it is really close to the ferry, so we could just swim around and then hop right back on the boat. This spot is right on the other side of the campground and it is hard to miss. This location also has a great variety of sea life. And we found this really cool cave that went under the moat wall. There was a ton of fish hiding in it. Please note that you are not allowed to swim in the moat. The water looks kind of gross and stagnant, but it's actually a protected area for wildlife. Right before it was time to get out, we had one final really cool wildlife sighting, and it was this barracuda. Those guys are always really cool to see, and that was a great way to wrap up our snorkeling experience. One more awesome thing that you can do at Dry Tortugas National Park is kayaking and paddleboarding. The trickiest thing is that they don't rent them there, and the only way you can get your kayaks and paddleboards on the island is to either bring them on your own personal boat, or you can bring them with you if you are camping. And with that, we said goodbye to the beautiful island. We got an autograph from our awesome Captain Tiger, and it was pretty much smooth sailing on the way home. Even though it was a nice and easy ride, if you are prone to seasickness, you might want to bring some medication just to make sure you don't get sick. And that is going to do it for our visit to the beautiful Dry Tortugas National Park. What's the coolest fish you've ever seen while snorkeling? Let us know down in the comments below. And for all the information about Dry Tortugas National Park, as well as other awesome things to do in Florida, head on over to thatadventurelife.com.